There does seem to be quite a bit of evidence that young men in the Anglosphere are turning back to faith, more so than young women.
Yes, I think what's happening, and the reason that they're doing that as well, they're going to the more, let's say, theologically robust or aesthetically traditional churches, is because the dividing line between left and right, and going back to the previous paradigm of economics, it used to be capitalism v socialism, but the dividing line between left and right, all the way back to the French Revolution, was hierarchy versus equality. And what the church, at least as an institution, is supposed to preach. I know as a Catholic, I have my contentions with the Pope now and then, the last couple especially. But what the church does present and preaches is hierarchy. It presents a orientation towards what is beautiful, what is good, what is true. It commands you to make sacrifices, take on responsibilities, be a pillar of your community. It essentially says the same message that Jordan Peterson put out when he first came on the scene and became a surrogate father to many lost and directionless young men, which is pick up the heaviest burden that you can carry and carry it so that someone who is relying on you doesn't have to shoulder that burden instead. And that is very meaningful to men who are otherwise offered the option of sit at home, run in place in a dead-end career job in a country that's completely financed by debt, and just simply outsource all of your desires for achievement and lasting relationships to porn and video games. Have nothing but surrogate activities and don't cause the social revolutionaries wrecking your society any particular trouble. And so this is why lots of young men are going back to church, to find a place in a community, to find a sense of spiritual nourishment, intellectual nourishment as well. Don't forget, like me, lots of young men came to the church through politics because Jordan Peterson engaged in the culture wars, then did his biblical lectures, and then said something that resonated with them, and they followed that rabbit hole down to actually practicing the faith and submitting their doubts in humility to the wisdom of tradition. And also lots of young men, don't underestimate it, are looking for a good woman to have a life with, to make a wife and have children with. Because one of the saddest things that's happened over the last few years, John, is the number of young men that I've interacted with in my audience or have seen my interviews who have just said they've given up hope. Because about a third of young men aged 18 to 30 in the US, in the UK, have never had a relationship. And that is an unprecedented level before. Now, perhaps it's just the internet allowing us to hear from these listless young men. Perhaps in the past we had an excess of young men who either would have joined the priesthood or had their names emblazoned on a war memorial because they died gallantly fighting for their country. But in the absence of both religious vocations and mass conflict, we've now got lots of young men who are wandering around with not very much productive to do and very few relationship prospects. And especially because the well has been poisoned by misandric feminism over the last few years, not least of all Me Too, but also the sort of Gloria Steinem sentiment that women need man like a fish needs a bicycle. There has been antagonisms engendered between the sexes. And so what they want to do is they want to return to a place that, yes, provides them meaning and structure and tradition and beauty and standards, but also in the hopes that they find a woman who hasn't been taken in by a self-destructive, man-hating ideology that's been put out there for the last few years, and so they might be able to have a little platoon of their own to act as a custodian of their culture and give them a reason to get up in the morning, go to work, make sacrifices, earn some money, and come home and support that household. All of these things are noble endeavors, and I think that's actually why, of the young men that I've met that have been in politics, John, they have been of much greater moral character than a lot of people that have been leading our countries for the last few years. I won't name any names, but at one point during the previous Conservative Party administration, there were a lot of scandals coming out about people living debaucherous lifestyles and maybe drinking and taking some illicit substances that they shouldn't have. And I must say, in my cohort of young men that I surround myself in the water I swim in Westminster, some have given up drinking entirely. None have touched drugs. They're either engaged or married. They're very well read, and because they don't have that internal moral compromise, because they've cultivated virtue, because they have a sense of morality that is outside the immediate gratification or pursuit of power, they are on mission. And I would trust them much more with the officers of state than the predecessors that have put us in this mess. So I see this trend as very encouraging.